That's him, officer. The intruder. 3 years away, teaching history in a cramped city classroom to send money home for Dad's medical bills. And that was my welcome. I had just driven onto the dusty private road leading to Oakhaven Ranch, the property my family had owned for 60 years, and before I could even kill the engine, Priscilla Thorne, the newly minted HOA president of Willow Creek Estates, was screaming at me. She had called the police on me for entering my own damn driveway. I actually laughed, a slow, deep chuckle, because this woman had no idea what kind of chaos she'd just invited into her perfectly manicured little world. See, I was just Ethan Miller, a history teacher who missed the smell of alfalfa and diesel, but the woman she was messing with, the woman she was about to face, was my wife, Sophia. And Sophia, as I would soon discover, wasn't just my supportive, traveling partner. She was a tactical nuclear option in sensible pumps. I rolled down the window, trying to keep things civil. Priscilla stood there, flanked by two bored-looking board members, clutching a clipboard like it was the Holy Grail and wearing this smug, corporate casual expression that instantly made my blood boil. "Can I help you, ladies?" I asked. That's when she hit me with the ridiculous mandate. "This property is now part of the Willow Creek Estates HOA. You will need to present proper identification and state your business." State my business on my own land. I bit my tongue, showed her my father's will, the deed, everything. Sheriff Ben Carter arrived about 10 minutes later, and I saw the recognition in his eyes. "Ethan Miller," he said, using my childhood nickname. "Haven't seen you since your dad's funeral. Sorry for your loss." He turned to Priscilla, and his tone changed entirely, becoming firm and official. "Ma'am, this man owns this property. It's not part of your HOA jurisdiction." That should have been the end of it, a simple misunderstanding settled by the local law. But Priscilla muttered something under her breath that sent a shiver down my spine. Just like his father, always thinking they're above the rules. Well, we'll see about that. I should have paid more attention to that comment. I should have realized right then that this wasn't about bylaws or grass height. This was personal. Later that evening, driving past the new HOA office, a glorified shed, really, I noticed the lights were still on. Through the window, I could see Priscilla standing in front of a massive concept board. Even from the street, I made out the words, "Future Copper Ridge Luxury Development," complete with renderings of condos and a 9-hole golf course. She was tracing her finger across the map, and when she got to the massive, sprawling outline of Oakhaven Ranch, she tapped it 3 times, like marking a target for elimination. That night, I texted Sophia about the encounter. She was in DC for a big meeting. She traveled a lot for her job, something vague about housing regulations and community development. "Local HOA giving me grief," I typed, "but I've got it handled." Her response came quickly. "You sure? What's the HOA name?" I told her Willow Creek Estates, and there was a long, unsettling pause before she replied. "Be careful, Ethan. If you need me, just call." But of course, I didn't call. I was a grown man, a history teacher for God's sake, dealing with a suburban busybody. How hard could it possibly be? I spent the rest of the night going through Dad's old files, and that's when I found the smoking gun, a lawsuit from 15 years ago, Priscilla Thorne versus William Miller. She tried to claim 3 acres of our land based on some bogus surveying error, and Dad hadn't just won. The judge had ordered her to pay his legal fees and actually suspended her real estate license for 6 months, citing predatory and malicious actions. Suddenly, the deep hostility, the comment about Dad being above the rules, it all clicked into perfect, ugly focus. This wasn't regulation. This was revenge, served ice cold and 2 decades in the making. I also noticed something strange that night. Sophia's phone, which she'd left on the nightstand, kept buzzing. It was exactly 11 p.m. when it started, vibrating insistently. I caught a glimpse of the caller ID. Unknown number. She glanced at it, frowned, hit decline. 30 seconds later, it rang again. By the 3rd call, I asked, "Who keeps calling this late?" She just reached over and turned it face down. Work stuff. Some people don't understand time zones. But looking back, I wonder if those calls weren't the first warning signs of the storm that was coming for her, and that I, in my blindness, completely missed. The next 3 days were a carpet bombing of paperwork. I'm not exaggerating. Priscilla sent 15 different violation notices in 72 hours. The grass was allegedly an inch too high. My fence was the wrong shade of oak. My classic Ford truck was parked aggressively. Fines totaled $7,500 for grass height and truck attitude. I pulled out the HOA handbook Sophia had given me years ago. Just in case, she'd said. I spent hours crafting a beautifully cited rebuttal, feeling proud of my legal terms. That's when I made my first mistake. I'd referenced the old 2008 handbook. Willow Creek Estates had updated their bylaws in 2022, and the section giving me 30 days to remedy a violation no longer existed. The new rule? 72 hours. Priscilla's response was immediate. Mr. Miller, your clear unfamiliarity with current regulations has resulted in an additional $500 fine for filing improper documentation. Perhaps you should educate yourself before attempting to practice law. That stung, but what happened next turned a sting into a full-blown catastrophe. The morning after that email, my phone rang. It was my principal. Ethan, I'm sorry to do this over the phone, but we've received a formal complaint about threatening behavior toward a neighbor. Until this is resolved, we're going to need to suspend your evening and weekend tutoring sessions. Those tutoring sessions were 40% of my income, money I desperately needed for the mortgage Dad had taken out for his final treatments. An hour later, my phone pinged with another email from my own account to the school board. Effective immediately, I am resigning from all teaching positions to focus on personal matters. I never wrote that. Someone had hacked my email at 3:47 a.m., and now I was completely unemployed. I've never felt rage like that. Not hot anger, but cold, calculated fury. Priscilla wasn't trying to annoy me. She was trying to destroy me, piece by financial piece. The final blow came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I woke up to a sound like someone strangling a metallic cat. I crept outside and nearly threw up. My irrigation system, $50,000 worth of agricultural equipment Dad had just installed, was screaming its death rattle. Someone had taken a saw to the main pipes, methodically ensuring maximum damage, and the pump was full of expanding foam. But the real horror came with sunrise. 5 acres of heirloom strawberries, our premium crop, 2 weeks from harvest, were brown, shriveled, and dead. The smell of industrial-grade herbicide burned my nostrils. $120,000 of produce gone overnight, plus the $50,000 system, plus the future contracts. I fell to my knees in the field, surrounded by 3 generations of farming success turned to ash. I called the sheriff, but the security camera had been spray-painted black. No fingerprints. No evidence. Then, at 8 a.m. sharp, another phone call. Valley Produce Distribution, canceling my contract due to sanitation concerns reported by the local HOA. Another $80,000 gone. I stood in my ruined field, phone in hand, finally understanding. This was economic warfare. Priscilla was trying to bankrupt me. That's when I called Sophia. Really called her, not just texted. My voice broke when she answered. Sophie, I'm going to lose the ranch. They destroyed everything. The strawberries, the irrigation, all of it. There was silence on her end. Then her voice came back, different, colder, professional. How much damage, Ethan? Quantify it. I told her, $120,000 crop loss, $50,000 equipment, $80,000 canceled contracts. $250,000 total, she confirmed. Do you have any security footage? I remembered the old game camera Dad had installed under the eave of the barn. I retrieved the memory card. The footage was grainy, infrared, but clear enough. 2:37 a.m. Priscilla Thorne is directing operations like a general. Her husband, Dale, is sawing pipes, but hesitating, looking back at her for confirmation. And a third figure, a man in professional coveralls, is handling the chemicals. I zoomed in on the man's gloves. In the grainy light, I could just make out 2 white stitched letters, SM. My heart skipped a beat. Sophia Matthews. No, that was insane. I sent the video to Sophia immediately. Her response was instant. The man in the video? Send me a close-up now. I sent the screenshot of the man with the SM gloves. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared 3 times before her response. Those aren't my gloves, Ethan. But I think I know whose they are. Ethan, she ordered, don't confront Priscilla. Don't go to the police yet. Don't do anything for 48 hours. 48 hours. I was sitting in the corpse of my family's dream, but she had never let me down. 48 hours, I agreed. Then what? Then you'll see why Priscilla Thorne picked the wrong family to mess with. 2 days later, the Willow Creek Estates Community Center was packed. Priscilla had pulled out all the stops for this emergency meeting to address the Miller situation. I sat in the front row, Sophia beside me, both of us wearing our best poker faces. Before Priscilla could begin, I stood up. "Before Mrs. Thorne begins," I said, not waiting for permission, "I have something everyone needs to see." I connected my laptop. The grainy infrared footage filled the screen. Priscilla directing the destruction. Dale sawing pipes. The room erupted in whispers. Priscilla just sat there, calm as ice. When the video ended, she started slow clapping. "Wonderful special effects, Mr. Miller. Did you make this yourself?" She turned to the crowd. "This is exactly the kind of desperate behavior I've been warning you about." That's when he stood up. Stanley Maxwell, the third man from the video, now wearing a perfectly tailored suit and the same self-satisfied smirk. "If I may," he said, voice smooth as oil, "I'm a technology consultant. I can state with absolute certainty that this video has been digitally manipulated. Classic deep fake indicators. In 30 seconds, he destroyed my only evidence." But Priscilla wasn't done. She stood up, holding a folder thick as a phone book. "While Mr. Miller has been playing movie director, I've been protecting our community. This is a covenant from 1983, signed by his grandfather, stating that any property negatively impacting the community's well-being can be reclaimed by the HOA. My throat went dry. Her lawyer confirmed it. I had 30 days to pay $200,000 in fees, or the property transferred to HOA control. My phone buzzed. Sophia was watching the live stream. I answered. "Did you see Stanley Maxwell?" Her voice was ice. 5 years ago, I caught him embezzling from a veterans housing fund. $2.3 million stolen. He did 10 years in federal prison. My blood ran cold. "Sophia, who are you?" The question slipped out. The line went quiet. Then, "The person he fears most in this world. And I'm coming home." Sophia wasn't late. She was strategic. She walked down the aisle like she owned the place. Each step measured, controlled. "Video evidence can be tricky," she said, her voice carrying without the microphone. "So, let's talk about something more concrete. Like the 3 shell companies you and Mr. Maxwell established: Sunshine Holdings, Copper Development, and Oakwood Ventures. Ring any bells?" Priscilla's face went white. Stanley started moving toward the exit, but suddenly, the door was blocked by a large man I didn't recognize. "My name is Sophia Matthews," she continued, pulling up financial records on her laptop. "I'm the director of HOA Oversight and Restructuring for the federal government." She pulled up bank records. "Your signature is on all the incorporation documents, along with records showing $8.5 million in HOA funds transferred to these companies over the past 2 years. The room exploded. People were shouting, demanding answers. "Rebecca Thorne, Stanley Maxwell." Sophia's voice was calm, professional. "You're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and racketeering." The doors burst open. FBI agents flooded in. Stanley tried to run, but didn't make it 3 steps. Priscilla stood frozen at the podium, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. But the absolute best part was when Dale Thompson stood up. Poor, beaten-down Dale, who'd been Priscilla's lapdog for 20 years. "Kevin, sit down." Priscilla screamed, her face purple with rage. But Dale was already pulling out his phone. 2 years, he said, his voice growing stronger. 2 years of recordings. Every crime, every plan. He pressed play, and Priscilla's voice filled the room. "I don't care if those strawberries are organic gold. Burn them all. Make it look like a disease. 50 million if we get the ranch. Do whatever it takes." The FBI agents were reading Priscilla her rights, drowning out her screams. Sophia turned to the crowd. 3 HOAs have been systematically defrauded. Over 200 families were affected. Every penny will be returned within 60 days. Justice may have been delayed, but it will not be denied. I watched through the window as they put Stanley Maxwell in the FBI van. He caught my eye, and his smile widened, his lips moving deliberately. Phase 2. Then he actually winked. 6 months later, I stood in my strawberry fields, watching new plants push through the soil. They weren't the old varieties, those bloodlines died with Priscilla's poison, but they were ours. Sophia and I had planted every one by hand, along with a crew of veterans from her old cases who'd volunteered to help. The irrigation system was state-of-the-art now, paid for by the settlement. The morning news droned from the radio. Priscilla Thorne sentenced to 18 years for racketeering and fraud. Stanley Maxwell received 27 years. I turned the radio off. The real news was standing in my driveway. Dale Thompson, out on bail, holding a box of strawberry plants. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness," he said, not meeting my eyes. "But I want to help rebuild what I helped destroy. These are heritage plants, descendants of your grandfather's original varieties. Everyone deserves a second chance," I said, taking the box. "Grab some gloves. We've got planting to do." The truth about Harrison's Phase 2 came out during the FBI investigation. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise to his accomplices that the plan was still on, an escape attempt during transport. But Dale's recordings detailed the escape plan. The FBI was waiting. Stanley Maxwell's brilliant Phase 2 ended with 10 additional years added to his sentence and his entire network in custody. Sophia and I converted the old HOA office into something better, the Miller Legal Aid Center. We've helped over 200 families recover funds from corrupt HOAs. The sign out front reads, "Protecting homeowners from predatory associations." My favorite part is the small plaque by the door, in memory of William Miller, who never backed down from a fight. "Penny for your thoughts?" Sophia asked, coming up beside me as I surveyed the fields. "Just thinking about Phase 2, I said. How Stanley was so confident even at the end. She laughed. "Confidence and competence aren't the same thing. He forgot that. And I learned that it's not about avoiding every storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain." We danced all right, through HOA violations and courtroom dramas. And we came out the other side stronger. The ranch was saved. The criminals were in prison. And I'd learned my wife was basically a superhero. Not bad for a history teacher who thought he could handle everything himself. "Hey," Sophia said, pointing toward the road. A nervous-looking young couple was getting out of their car. "Bet you anything, they're here about HOA trouble." I smiled. "Bet you anything, you're right." We walked toward them together, ready to help the next family stand up to corruption, because that's what we do now. Priscilla Thorne thought she could steal my family's legacy. Instead, she gave us a new purpose. Funny how karma works sometimes. Almost like the universe has a sense of humor. Or maybe it just likes a good comeback story. So, I want to know, has a Karen ever tried to ruin your life over something petty, only to discover you or someone you loved had the hidden leverage to shut them down? Drop a comment below and tell me your story of surprising leverage. And if you believe that justice is a dish best served cold, federal, and with a side of strawberries, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started.